right, so it is our pleasure today to speak to Ray Burton, PSM FLGMA. Ray has had a long and distinguished career in local government, working in 2 states and representing the interests of the sector in a number of roles. Ray joined LGMA's predecessor, the Institute of Municipal Management, in 1982 when he was District Town Clerk at the City of Hamilton in Victoria. His career led him to work for a number of councils and to settle in Queensland. Now retired from a 9-to-5, Ray still keeps his hands in the sector, and his advice and perspective is regularly sought by state and local governments officers alike. Ray, thank you for joining me today, and I'm looking forward to hearing about some of your lessons learned, challenges navigated, successes celebrated, and of course, your advice for future leaders of local government. So could you start by sharing maybe a brief history of your career, so how you first got into local government?
Yeah, okay. Thank you. And it's good to be here, Cassie. I appreciate the opportunity of talking to you and passing on some of my experience, if you like, to my fellow colleagues in the local government sector. Yeah, I got involved in I started in local government in 1976 in Bendigo in Victoria. At the time, I was working in administration in the hospital sector at Bendigo, and swapped across into local government, which was a good learning experience for me. Why did I go there? Career advancement. I was a trainee accountant at that stage, finishing off my degree in accounting, and I saw that local government was going to offer a better career path for me than what the hospital sector did. A lot of similarities between the two, but certainly I've got no regrets on swapping across to local government, and have shifted around quite a bit since then. And with every shift, you progress in terms of your career path, and yeah, it's been quite exciting. And I've got no regrets on any of my movements in the sector.
Fantastic. What have been some of the highlights or memorable stories from your time in local government?
Well, there's some that I couldn't put on tape. There's some good and there's some bad. Look, I get a lot of satisfaction out of working with people and for people, if you like. Um, so some of the highlights include the development of. I've gone from small councils to large councils through my career. Um, so there's highlights in small councils in terms of maintaining their sustainability where possible. The reality is that's not always possible. The financial plight of small councils is one of the reasons that local government restructure occurred both in Victoria and in Queensland. That whether that's worked successfully is a discussion for another day, I suppose. But certainly highlights from my point of view have been around serving people. I've served people all my life, and get a lot of satisfaction out of that. You don't necessarily get a lot of reward from it or a lot of thanks from it, but just my personal goals and personal values and so on. It's been local government has been able to fulfil that very well. Um, some successes. When I was at Bendigo, believe it or not, I was a strong. When I was at Bendigo, I was a strong supporter of restructures. There were 5 councils around Bendigo at the time, with Bendigo being in the core and small councils around us. And Bendigo was providing all the services, spending lots of money on services for the broader community. So local government amalgamations in the large regional centres of Ballarat, Bendigo and Geelong made a lot of sense at that time, and I was very pleased to be able to participate in lobbying the state government to get that across the line. At the end of the day, it cost me my job. Of course, I was the CEO of Bendigo, and when the amalgamations happened, 5 councils into one, I was the first one to go, because they needed new blood in there to drive it from there. So yeah, there's some highs and lows in respect to that, but I go back to Bendigo on a regular basis. I've still got family there, and I am really pleased with the progress that's been made and the development that has happened around the Bendigo region as a result of there being just one council rather than 5 separate councils. And that similar observation, if you like, has occurred here in Queensland, where there was significant restructures back in 2008, and the smaller councils became parts of the larger councils. And in my case, I was at Pine Rivers at the time. We had a population of about 150,000 people, so we were a big council, and that was one of the three councils that formed the Moreton Bay Regional Council. So they were a big council. Again, I was the acting CEO of the Moreton Bay Regional Council while I was doing the recruiting for the CEO, and in the 9 months planning period leading up to the amalgamation. And I got a lot of satisfaction out of that in terms of mapping out a brand new council, new policies and procedures, trying to set the path for the new council off on the right track. And yeah, I was very much proud of the achievements in that time as well. From there, I went to Townsville. Townsville was a new council set up as a result of the amalgamation of Tarrangara and Townsville City Council. And again, we were starting from scratch. We had I was able to appoint my team at Townsville City Council, and we put a lot of effort into ensuring that new council was able to get on the right path and provide the services that our community very much required. There's a lot of differences in cultures between the previous Tarrangara and the Townsville City Council. So you're building up a new council from scratch, developing new culture, developing new policies, procedures, educating new councillors in terms of their role, and working with that council to achieve the services required for our community. So again, got a lot of satisfaction out of that. Since then, 2016, I retired from Townsville. Since then, or subsequent to then, the next 3 or 4 years, I did a lot of acting CEO roles around Queensland, and those acting roles again were during the periods where a CEO will have departed from the previous council for one reason or another, and I would come in and assist those councils in getting the recruitment organised and the appointment, and then the settling in, if you like, of the new CEO, onboarding of the new CEO. So again, I got a lot of satisfaction out of that. That occurred at a lot of the smaller councils, Burton, Town, Fraser Coast, and North Burnett. 3 stints at North Burnett doing just that, being in a position to assist those councils in terms of the recruitment of their new chief executive officers. And again, I got a lot of satisfaction out of that and a lot of enjoyment out of that, because I sit back and look at those appointments, and many of those appointments are still in place now. Some aren't, but many are. And one that I got a lot of satisfaction out of was the fact that at Fraser Coast, one of my previous directors at Townsville City Council, one of my direct reports, is now the CEO at Fraser Coast and has done a fantastic job over the last 6 or 7 years in that role. So again, as a CEO, it's good to see your staff come up through the ranks, and in Ken's case, he's really kicked goals in that position at Fraser Coast and has done a great job.
Fantastic. Now, so you mentioned some very memorable highlights from your time in local government. Were there any challenging aspects in your career that you had to face or overcome?
Yeah, there certainly was. And then, as with any CEO, you're always, you might be comfortable in one term of council, but when the next elections come around, you might get a new mayor, and then it's a whole different ballgame. That's happened to me on 2 occasions that probably right at the forefront of my thoughts. One was at Bendigo, where the mayor, a councillor came in as mayor at Bendigo and was pretty keen on being the CEO as well as the mayor, and attempted to basically take over the administration role as well as the policy role of the organisation. So, and that mayor was mayor for 3 years, so I had a 3-year term under him where relationships weren't as good as what they would normally be, and I get on well with most people, so it was foreign to me that I would have a mayor that I wasn't able to necessarily work with as well as I had with a lot of other mayors that I work with. Got through that. I was still there at the end of his term, and I was still there another 4 or 5 years after that. Um, and then at Townsville, I had a difficult period there with the new mayor at Townsville back in 2012. But again, got through that. We got through that her first term as mayor. She similarly wanted to run the administration. A lot of politics involved, and yeah, I had strong support from the strong majority of the council, but not necessarily the full support of the mayor of the day. Look, we achieved a lot during that 4-year period, but it was a very difficult time. And in the second term of that mayor, she got the numbers in the council, so to speak, and yeah, I was gone very shortly after her re-election in her second term. Never mind, I went from strength to strength from there in terms of the acting roles that I did and that I spoke of earlier in other councils right around the state. So I was able still to contribute for the next 3 years, more than 3 years in terms of acting roles right around Queensland, and one in Victoria actually. I was the acting CEO down in Campaspe at Echuca in Victoria for a 5-month period as well during that period.
Fantastic. So you've mentioned that you're really good with people. So in the leadership positions that you've held, what strategies or approaches work best for you?
I think it's important to listen to people. Communication is critical, but it's not just telling people what they want. It's being able to listen to them and listen to what their concerns might be, what their contributions might be, understand what drives them, and then work with them to get the outcomes that you need. So I worked hard at being a good listener and then acting on what I was hearing. And I think I believe that I had good rapport with the staff right across all of the organisations that I worked for, including the political arms. I put as much time in as CEO. You put as much time into the council and working with the council as a group and the mayor, of course, to what you do with the staff. They're both critical to the overall success of the organisation. If you get the council itself working together, then they drive the culture from the top, and that's pretty important that the CEO gets that right, and then maintains that through the rest of the workforce. So again, to me, listening, get up, walk around, and observe and listen to what's going on across the organisation, and yeah, be in a position where you're available to address any concerns, available for any suggestions, any innovative ideas that staff might have to move things forward.
Fantastic. Along the way, did you find that you had to change anything about yourself or your style or your leadership style in order to succeed or gain traction?
Uh, that's a good question, and you do look. You learn every day. In any role, we learn. CEOs are no different. We're not supermen or superwomen. We learn new things every day, and I remember mentioning that to my executive team on numerous occasions in different places I worked with. It's important that you are a CEO or a manager who is able to deal with local situations as they arise rather than be fixed on your views and fixed on your management style. You need to adapt those styles to be able to meet the circumstances of what you're dealing with. And did I change anything? I don't know that I did necessarily change. I got burnt a bit along the way, but and you learn. I suppose you learn to try harder to get on with people of all makes and breeds, so to speak. So if you're having trouble with a particular individual, it's important not just to walk away from that, but to try harder to work and build the confidence and trust up with that person. Trust is an important word for the CEO. CEO's vocabulary. He or she needs to have the trust of the council, but more particularly the trust of the staff and the executive management that report to him. If you haven't got that trust, you're really pushing it uphill. It makes it a very difficult job to do if you haven't got the team, those that report to you and those that you report to. If you haven't got them on side and they don't trust you for one reason or another, then it's time to get up and look at where else you want to be.
Fantastic. Have you had any role models or key influences during your career?
Yeah, I have. I've had role models and some very good ones. I mentioned before my shift from the hospital sector to the local government sector in Bendigo, which started off my local government career. A close friend of mine, Peter Black was his name, was the Deputy CEO at Bendigo City Council at the time, and it was him that recommended to me that I should look at that career. And it was I shifted around a little in 3 different jobs before I came back to Bendigo. I started off with Bendigo and then shifted to other councils and then came back. And right through that period, I kept close association with Peter. And he was a mentor that I still look up to this day, even though I haven't seen him for probably a couple of decades now. I also had each of my CEOs have been people I look up to. Bill Jabor at Shepparton in Victoria, and Calvin Spiller at Maroochy Shire Council in here in Queensland. They're people I look up to and have used as mentors, either directly or indirectly, for quite a long time, and they gave me good guidance through my career. And you need to be able to listen to people as much as I want to listen to people that report to me and that I report to. There are other people that you need to just take notice of from time to time. You haven't got all the ideas yourself. You don't necessarily. Sometimes you might be just treading water, and it's good to have an ear outside the industry or outside your particular direct workplace that you can relate to and give you guidance. And I've been lucky through my career that I've had those mentors that have been again not official mentors, but I've used them as mentors that has really assisted with my career.
Fantastic. You've represented LGMA members for many years now, both as a director at large and as Queensland's representative on the national board and as national president. What motivated you to take on these roles and what was that experience like?
Yeah, when I first ran for election as a director on LGMA Queensland, I was keen. I was the CEO at Pine Rivers here in Queensland. Well, it was Pine Rivers, now part of Moreton Bay. I was keen to give something back. I know this is a cliche, but I was keen to give something back to the industry. I had been in the industry at that stage probably for 30 years, and I was keen to give something back. And I thoroughly enjoyed my time here at LGMA and serving our members. And the same thing happened at national level when I was president of FLGMA back in 2011 to 2012. Again, you're serving the members, you're giving something back, and I got as much out of it as what anyone else did, I suppose, in terms of just self satisfaction, if you like, that I was there serving people and hopefully doing it well.
Fantastic. In your opinion, what's the best thing about building a career in local government?
Oh, the opportunities that it creates. There's so many opportunities in different sectors of different parts of the sector, whether it's head down the finance track or the management track, and that creates many opportunities. And if you're prepared to, you won't necessarily get them in. You've got to make sure the doors are open. You won't necessarily get them all in the first place you work for. You might need to shift around a little bit. But local government is a very rewarding industry in the context of the satisfaction you get out of working in that industry. It's a hard job. You work long hours, but you get a lot of satisfaction out of it, serving people and seeing other people develop in terms of your employees and seeing the council pull together in terms of the policy making arm of the organisation. And I haven't even mentioned the community yet. You can look back as a CEO, you can look back and see what you've achieved in the community in terms of infrastructure, in terms of cultural and community type projects that have been put in play. And you just played a little part of that, but it was an important part of that. So that it's a career that does offer you a whole lot of scope in a whole lot of different directions that can be very self-rewarding.
Excellent. How do you feel that local government has changed over time? Or
Um, yeah, it, it, that's a good question as well. It's changed, the restructure of local government government, changed councils significantly. There was the smaller councils were in a position, I think, to look after the community on a direct basis, on a one-to-one basis. That they were a lot closer, if you like, to the community, whereas the larger councils don't have that closeness. So it's important for those larger councils that they have those communication systems in place, that the community know what's happening and have the opportunity to be heard when something goes wrong or when they've got ideas. So technology in particular has changed local government. I started off in the career with no computers, and people would write letters in, and you would spend a week responding to somebody. Well, these days, a ratepayer will write their request on email or in text and in social media, and they expect a response the same day. So you've got to set up your systems so that you are responsive and do that in obviously an efficient and effective way, but to ensure timeliness and to ensure that you're listening and acting on any concerns the community might have. Technology, AI is just about to hit us. That'll impact local government, speed up productivity in the context of response times and so on, potentially, and recording systems and so on. There's a lot changed in the industry. There's a lot that's still the same, let me say. The council itself is still the policy making arm. The administration is the implementation arm of the organisation. So those two key aspects of a council haven't changed, and it's important that in terms of democracy that remains, and the people, the ratepayer out there, have the opportunity to elect the people as a council, as the people who are going to effectively represent them, and the administration acts accordingly.
excellent. And finally, what advice would you give to newcomers to local government or to prospective local government CEOs?
Well, local government CEOs, you need a thick hide. You need to understand that you will get kicks in the butt, but you won't get many pats on the back. So you need to be a self-starter and a self-motivator and a person who knows a person that's got integrity, got high professionalism, person that knows what needs to be done, and you stick your path and you achieve that. There'll be a lot of flack coming from the left field, and you just need to be strong enough and capable enough to meet through those times, because they'll happen, and you need a thick skin. You need to be prepared to work long hours. You need to work well with people. You need to be able to get on with the elected arm of the organisation, the council and the mayor. That relationship between the mayor and the CEO is critical, so you need to put a lot of time and effort into that. It doesn't just happen. The trust that I referred to earlier, you earn that trust over a time period. And the mayor doesn't earn that title. The title of mayor doesn't mean that person can be trusted. It means that they earn that trust over a period of time, exactly the same with the CEO. In terms of any potential new employee that wants to get into the local government sector, I probably covered that before. It just offers so many opportunities that where you can head off in all different fields, that is again is self-rewarding. You won't get an industry that is probably state government to an extent, but you won't get an industry that is as close to your client base as what local government is, and offers so many different opportunities for you as an employee. So if you're prepared to put that time in and do study around that, I did most of my study. I did most of my accounting before I went into local government, but I did most of my study after I was in local government because I recognised the opportunities that were there and that I needed to have the qualifications to be able to open the doors when the opportunity arose. Yeah.
What qualifications did you undertake?
Oh, I did accounting. I did local government back in Victoria. I did the Australian Institute of Company Directors course. I've done auditing, an auditing course. What else have I done? Yeah, I'm currently in. I haven't mentioned that, but local government can lead to other things. I'm currently the local government representative, on Brighter Super, our superannuation board. So I was elected to that role by the members, local government members, back in 2018, and I'm still there representing their interests now. So I'm not retired by any means. I'm still going and got another 4 years on the board to go. Not sure why I went down that track, but I think it's relevant in terms of just looking at what opportunities are out there, because that was an opportunity that I identified. Again, giving back to the members, serving the members. It was all consistent with my local government career in terms of moving now into the superannuation sector.
Excellent. What else are you doing these days?
I was doing consulting in local government up until probably 12 months ago. I was doing investigations on code of conduct issues for both council laws and staff. And I've worked for a number of councils around Queensland doing that role. I was doing acting CEO roles in local government right up until, or the last one I did was back in October last year. That's 2024. And I'm on Rotary. I'm due to come in as the Rotary president of the Alexandra Headland Rotary Club up on the Sunshine Coast. Come in as president next year. I've been on Rotary for 4 or 5 years up there, but previously about 17 years in other places. So there's plenty to keep me busy. I've got a boat. I go fishing a little bit. I've got a caravan. I go caravanning a little bit.
Fantastic.
Thanks.
Excellent. Are there any questions that I haven't asked you that you would like to speak on?
Only to sum up by saying that local government is a great area a great sector to be in, and I've enjoyed every little bit of it. As have I know all of my colleagues, all the CEOs I meet love the business, love the motivation and the returns they get from the satisfaction they get from the role in as a CEO. And the LGMA is a very important cog in that as well, in the context of providing the resource support not only to CEOs but to all staff across the local government. They do a great job. Peter's been there for quite a while, but as long as I have. Peter was appointed the year I started as a director on the board. She's been around for a long time and has got some good ideas and has done a great job in terms of providing that resource to staff across local government. And yeah, can't speak too highly of what LGMA offers the industry.
Thank you.